Welcome back to the Summoning Circle. This is Helen here, and today I have summoned Tad Major, the community lead from the Magic Machine team. Tad has been part of the Forgotten Runes Wizards cult for years, and as a longtime pillar of the community, he has welcomed new wizards by creating art inspired by their stories, by helping them find their narrative voices. I always have such a good time talking to people who are a part of the community side of development. So I'm looking forward to this. Let's welcome Tad Major, appearing as his wizard persona, Ghost Eater Kobold of the Technochrome.
Very Technochrome good morning to you all.
Oh, thank you, Tad. I love this guy. So right off the bat, did you create this pixel art, by the way, of your wizard?
This one was actually gifted to me by another cult member, Meat Prisoner, another artist within our community.
Meat Prisoner is a great name. What's up, Meat Prisoner? Shout out. So you do create your own beautiful art, though, and I'm wondering if you always did that or if this is something you learned over time?
So this is actually something that I picked up after coming into the cult. I had never done an animation in my life, and honestly, at this point, when I first joined, I hadn't done anything with that creative side of myself in probably 2 decades.
Whoa.
So I did a lot of things in my youth. I liked to draw. I painted origamis and things like that were really fun. Probably the last thing that I really did was maybe painting miniatures for D&D stuff. But over time, those sorts of things in life get replaced by other responsibilities, and most of my school and my training kind of became very focused on maths and sciences. So that kind of creative outlet, I think if you don't feed it, it starts to die out. So it wasn't something that I did before I came, but it was really the kind of the community that they have around the Forgotten Ruins and the group of artists and creators that are there. Just really inspire one another. They help support and teach and train and mentor. And I saw my little pixel wizard, and I wanted to make him move and make him do more than just be that static image. So I actually trained myself. I had a friend of mine from my youth who actually worked with Pixar for a while and did animation on some large movies. So I first tapped him and said, "Hey, I've got this really cool wizard with a hummingbird. I want him to fly on this hummingbird." And he's like, "Cool, do it." And I was like, no, I'm trying to pay you money to do this thing for me. And he really, as a good teacher does, he pushed me to figure it out myself. So he gave me a little tutorial, a couple-minute video, and a reference to a book that I think most animators use. It's just kind of a guide to the animation that they use by Disney. So I just taught myself piece by piece, and I just learned a little bit more each time, tried to incorporate some new things into each piece to keep it interesting. But yeah, it was a big transition for me. Honestly, it took me many, many years to get comfortable with the idea that I was an artist. I think imposter syndrome is super strong within the art world, just because most of the other things that we do in our life require a certificate or a degree or someone saying that you are qualified to do this. And the only qualifier for art is that you make something. It doesn't matter even if it's good, you're still an artist. You've still created art. And I think it took me about 3 years into my 4.5-year journey now to really hang my hat on the side that I consider myself an artist. I think that I have a story to tell. Specifically, I like to find the stories that you can tell with motion and movement between scenes. I think it's just really interesting to explore that aspect of how a moving picture can make you feel, can make you think, can make you consider different things. And you'll probably notice a lot of my animations, I tend to be a bit of a goof on my own. So there's always a little wink or a sly smile or something that you can work in. And just with a couple of frames can totally change kind of the lasting impact of that art piece. So
yeah, definitely.
So for me, it's just been kind of a journey of discovery and learning new concepts, and not having a traditional art background, I think, hindered me for a while, but really it set me free to explore a lot of different things that maybe you wouldn't do in a final piece, but the exploration of it helped me learn something new that then I could incorporate. And I also came back into my creative art side around the same time that all the AI image models started to really get not good, but they were able to create
Not good.
meaningful pictures. They were still
Yeah.
six fingered, and there were hanging things, or you'd have an extra arm. But
Yeah.
being a person that struggled to create from a blank slate, to be able to just create a little starting imagery and figure out how to use that, caused me to learn several different platforms and Photoshop and Premiere Pro to link together videos or manipulate various types of media in different ways to try to create something new. And honestly, that's kind of my thought process going forward, is just to try to add some new aspect each time, try to keep my art different and new, but also interesting for myself. I don't want to just create the same piece over and over and over with different tokens. I want to make something a little bit different each time. And as someone that is kind of new into this art world, I don't have some of the hangups that other people have about some of the AI art generators.
Mm.
I do really, really admire someone that has a traditional art background and that can just sit down and sketch something out in minutes that's beautiful. And that is talent, and there's definitely skill there. But um, I'll say also utilizing different models and tools to generate images, to create starting points, to utilize as mixed media into what I build. It doesn't feel like cheating, honestly. It really is only a starting point. It's just a place to jump off. And I think if you want to just get good at text prompting and create an image, then there is something that's lacking in that. But when you build past that point, when you're really doing a lot of edits and modifications, or actually really deep diving into some of the things that you can do with those programs, it's really, really amazing. And I think you can really use it to expand your art and to do a lot more and to reach into to much different levels. So from very basic static animations or pixel animations, I moved into some different mixed media, into just fantasy art styles. I used video to video editors to just start blending frames and looking how that creates different forms of movement that then I could bring back and reincorporate into my original pixel pieces. So I'm just honestly having a really good time making some magic in Wizardland. Making commissions for people is like definitely my favorite thing. I don't know that I ever make a piece that's done as is. I think it always gets to the person requesting it, and there's one more thing that they want, or there's one comment that really makes so much sense, and we incorporate that into the piece, and then it's done, and then it's always better than it was even from the original piece I made. So I really enjoy the collaborative aspect of both our community, doing art for the community, and working with other artists within the community, seeing different styles and pieces. And I've worked with some groups on group commissions as kind of an art lead. I didn't even do any of the work. I just helped direct the motion and the flow and the music. And it was really interesting to see it from a lot of different sides, from a novice to an intermediate skill level. It's just been really fun interacting with and playing with others' art forms. And I definitely find I always learn something new about creation or about style when I see how someone else builds a template or builds some of their art pieces. So I just really, I respect so many of the artists in our community, and I've been lucky enough to get to work with several of them over the last few years. And I think one of the big strengths of this cult is we're very supportive of our creatives, whether that's being an artist or a lore writer or a builder within the coding realm. We really appreciate those people that choose to step out and put their rune on the door and do something different and showcase their talent. So I think that's, for me, one of the strongest things that I see within the Forgotten Ruins is the community is incredibly talented, and that's not by accident, it's by design. And I'm just really, really honored to be able to be a part of some of that myself.
Well, I've heard that you've helped a lot of people find their first Forgotten Runes characters. Can you actually tell us a bit about what that process is like, going through and finding the right warrior or wizard for someone?
Sure. This is actually one of my favorite things to do. it reawakens that first time that you found Forgotten Ruins. And I think it's a really unique, special project for many different reasons. I think the art of it ties back to childhood times, old RPG video games, the sort of simplicity of youth. Um, but there's so many different things that go on within the various collections, the trait sets, the way the affinity of the various traits interplay between to kind of create the narrative of the token. Outside of other large collections, all of the wizards have their own name. So both the name themselves, but also the location of where they're from, help to tell the story of where they're from, who they are, what adventures they might go on. So yeah, very early on, actually, some of my very first Discord messages were around Mint Day, talking to different people that were considering wizards and weighing in on what I thought was great or not great. I find it so appealing to see people at the moment that they need someone that's going to kind of gently hold their hand and show them the ropes in a way, but ultimately the full decision is for that person. We have a saying in the Forgotten Ruins cult, like wizard by wizard. And that was just a blanket response when people would say, what wizard should I get? What wizards are good? You're like, well, like wizard by wizard. There's not one wizard that is the right wizard. There's not one trait set that's the best for everyone. So for me, I always asked people to look for a wizard that you want to go traveling with. Look for someone that you want to go on an adventure with, either with yourself or that you want to write stories about them on an adventure. Find someone that either has a look or a familiar or a name that immediately brings a story of mind that makes you want to talk about something. Even if it's a very simple plot at the beginning, you can grow from that. So I often would shuffle around, look at some of the different traits, figure out what people are into, and then try to present them with different options. I did a lot of buying and trading wizards as I was trying to get into some of the different wizards that I wanted myself. So I often had a handful of extras that I would consider parting with for new entrants. And usually if I didn't have them myself, because of how active I was in the community, I knew most of the big holders, some of the people that had minted, 50 or 100 wizards. And I could directly contact them, see if they'd be willing to help a new entrant get a wizard and try to connect people that way. So that was kind of the lore of how TADX began, the TAD exchange. I did help a lot of people over the years find their wizards, and I'm still doing it today. I just helped someone last week get connected with their very first wizard. So it's definitely a labor of love within the community. A lot of time goes into it, but I've seen and gained a lot of friends just from doing this and helping them get into the community and help them get set up. And I really love doing it.
Beautiful. So you're also part of the House of Wizards DAO. Do you mind telling me about what that is and how it serves the community?
Sure. So the House of Wizards DAO is a community.
Right.
DAO. It's a community group that was initially funded by the Beast sales from the Magic Machine team, and it's also received funding from community projects that have had minting costs to the community, and then proceeds were donated onto the DAO. So essentially, the group of wizards on the Wizard DAO help manage the DAO treasury, and we utilize those funds to help lead community initiatives. So there are a handful of different ones that have already been approved that are in process at the moment. Currently, we have a Forgotten Ruins-based board game, a Forgotten Ruins themed and in setting of the Runiverse D&D campaign, a community treasure trove that was kind of a Forgotten Ruins merch pack that was set up and established by our community member Meeple Dad. There's also coming a dungeon crawler loot extractor, some educational software for children utilizing Wizard and Ruins assets. And there's also an AI-driven lore builder that's being worked on as well. So the DAO helps to support and give grants to these projects. The goal would be that most of these projects will eventually become profitable and be able to return the funds to the DAO to continue funding new projects. So most of the projects that we have are currently in production now. We have probably about a 4 to 6 month timeline before I expect some of the first ones to really hit market. So this will be an interesting year to see how that all plays out, to see what sort of future options that we have. Another sub-council of that DAO is the Ministry of Art, and that is probably my favorite seat. So at the table for the Ministry of Art, essentially, we're a program that any token holder from the Forgotten Runes community can request to have an artist make something for the Runiverse character. It can be a story and lore. It could be an animation, a still image, a hand-drawn illustration, really anything that fits within kind of the artist mold is something that a person can request. We end up giving out around $4,000 to $5,000 a month in grants to about 7 to 10 people each month. That's been going on probably 8 months now, with no signs of we're not having any plans to stop it. But through my work in that ministry, I get to meet so many artists, and with the connection of Ronin community joining up, we've got people from communities all over the world that have joined forces with us. That has been fantastic. There's just so many talented artists, so many people that want to get involved in the cult, especially from areas that maybe have different levels of like basic daily income. Some of the grants that we can do from the ministry have been able to help upgrade computers or tablets that are used to generate new art. We're helping, like with the actual work that these people do, not only within our community, but also for themselves. And I've been really pleased to see that it's been distributed between dozens of different people. And every month we have a full list of proposals to review, and the art that's come out of it has just been top tier. It's just really, really fun to just be involved in a project where I get to help fund artists and see them create cool things.
That's really amazing. Yeah, I've seen some awesome stuff come out of that project. So huge props to you and the whole Wizard DAO. Matto tells me that you were also given the chance to design your own honorary warrior for the Forgotten Runes collection. Can you tell me about your warrior's story and what inspired the design?
Yeah, absolutely. So the honorary warrior program was a very special thing for me because the Wizard collection had been out for a few years and the warriors were coming along, and a group of honorary warriors were chosen by the community to allow these specific community members to design and customize their own warrior, kind of as a nod to the different work they've done in the group over the last several years. So it was really cool to even just be selected. And I really thought that I had an amazing idea at first. Unfortunately, it was ultimately denied. But what I wanted to do was be Tad in the Runiverse. I wanted to be myself, just go in there with a t-shirt, jeans, and maybe a pocket knife or something. And the literary side of sharing the Runiverse through the eyes of a person that lived where we are now and somehow stumbled through a portal and now is in this new place. The idea of creating lore around that and the narrative and the perspective was really interesting. But ultimately, I think it was too different from the other things that were happening. It could potentially be disruptive. So I was voted no for myself in the Runiverse.
Input coming through right there.
Yes. So I had to accept that. And it took me a little while to figure out what I wanted to do next. But I knew at that point I had my rainbow kobold. And so I knew that I wanted to play into the light and the rainbow and the bright colors. So what I ended up deciding on, since I couldn't bring myself into the Runiverse, I wanted to create something different that was unique. So you can't fully tell with the character that I have, but Tad Major is actually a golem of armor. He's an animated suit of armor. There's nothing inside of this suit. So the first scene in his lore is kind of a reboot section where his hard drive or processor or whatever sentience he has is being brought online, and he's sent out into the world and printed with the mandate to protect 55. And 55 is the numerology of my Ghost Eater Kobold, the Rainbow Kobold. So the story the story with Tad Major goes as he finds himself in this world and trying to then discover what things are. And I had an early piece commissioned from Oz, a really wonderful artist from our community, where Tad Major is standing, staring at a shadow and contemplating the differences in light and dark, good and evil, morality, justice, those sorts of things that a sentient suit of armor might not fully understand. But another cool thing that I want to pull into a story, a neat part of the honoraries is once the names were chosen, they were also placed into the pool of names that were used for all the warriors. So there's about 24 Tads in the warrior collection. So it might have been a brilliant strategy for marketing because I've collected over a dozen of them myself. But I think it's a really interesting story because I want the memories and the past deeds of these Tads to be what's incorporated into this super Tad that is a kind of a conglomeration of all of them together. So it's an interesting device, but I like the idea of something that doesn't fully understand what good and evil is being mandated to potentially go out and protect something. It just leaves open a lot of different literary elements where he's sort of following a path that he's put on by a power that he doesn't fully understand and doesn't really understand the thoughts behind what they're doing. So for me, he's a defender of light because he's trying to stand for good, but he doesn't always know what good is. And I feel like that's a very human thing to consider. So it was fun to look at that with the mechanical side as well.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, I was about to say, like, is it a bad thing that I'm relating to your robot right now? Is that a bad sign?
I think we all do a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, to close off our discussion here, I have prepared for the first time ever a game for one of these discussions. I am going to show you an asset from inside the Forgotten Runiverse game, and then you have to tell me what community project inspired it.
All right. Yeah, that sounds great. Let's see how I do.
I believe in you. I just know you're going to get this first one. Where are these monsters from, Tad?
Oh, I actually can't see it. My screen's over it. Here, I can turn it. Okay, well, this is the mushroom that is from the Ruins trading card game. I think the first one was the day serpent, but here he is. Yeah, that's the serpent. And the butterfly. Yeah.
Yes,
Ruins TCG. What a great game.
And you even created pixel art for Runes TCG, so of course you're going to get this, but we have to flex this fine art. It's all by community artists, right?
It's by community artists and other kind of crypto Twitter pixel artists. So not all of it was community made, but a very large portion. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. There was a night when a bunch of us from the Bisonic team were just curious about Runes TCG and the ponies. So we ended up staying up all night and just having like a fun night with the community over Discord playing these games. Like totally unplanned. It was super fun. We want to do it again. There's so much cool stuff happening there.
Absolutely. It's really a great game. The only drawback I see is just sometimes it's hard to find an opponent. So hopefully we'll just keep getting more people. I hear that they're maybe shifting over to Ronin where it might be easier to get a larger player base. So yeah, I'm up for a game of Ruins.
We love hanging out on Discord. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tad. I'm new. But I'm going to beat you. I still have that spirit. Okay, next one. Do you recognize this alchemy lab? I will say it's a clue that it's at night all the time in the game when you stumble upon this lab.
I don't know whose alchemy lab that might be. I would love for it to be Tad Major's alchemy lab, but it doesn't look bright enough to be mine.
Well, I'm sure this wizard may be willing to share. This is inspired by alchemist Baozai of the Wood and her Under the Moonlight potion creation.
Yes, I recognize that art commission. That's definitely an Oz piece. You can see his style.
Oh, cool. Okay, I only have one more for you, Tad. Who is this handsome gentleman?
Let's see.
I can
Blue
give you a
hat,
hint if you want.
coffee. Yeah, let's drop one hint.
You probably haven't seen him very much in his pixel wizard form yet.
Okay, so this is probably George of Dreams, the narrator from the comic book.
Yes, that is exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes, well done. There he is in the clouds.
I do have a bit of an advantage. I actually helped set up the Wikipedia page for the comic books. So I do know his name because I have to type it out every issue that comes through.
So then you'll know, am I right that the comic books are a #1 bestseller on Amazon in comics right now? Or yeah, in
The
new
the
comics?
graphic novel that just came out was a #1 bestseller. I remember seeing it and laughing, but it was something along the lines of adult comic humor or something like that.
La la.
But yeah, it is a bestseller, and it looks fantastic. If you haven't seen the comics, either to you or the viewers, they are fantastic. The art in them is so good. It relating nothing to Forgotten Ruins, just as a standalone. The story is fantastic. The art is sublime. Like I'm years and years out from being in comic books, and looking through these makes me feel like a kid again. They're so well done. And for the community side of it, there's lots of community art that's included. Of course, people who wrote stories in the Book of Lore that were then used as these thematic pieces to be brought into the comic also got paid for their IP that was utilized. So it's the whole comic experience has been really cool. It's been a interesting kind of thought piece on showing how the community can build, and then the parent company can produce, and then we all kind of have a circular process of everyone benefiting.
Yeah, I need to get my hands on Magus Devin's comic. I know my favorite person, Maddo, was involved, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to read these. Cool, that's all I have for today. Is there anything you want to say as a little sign off to the people watching? I've so enjoyed this conversation.
Nothing big. Just it's really it's a pleasure to be here. It's a very exciting time within the Forgotten Ruins. So many things that have been worked on for 2 and 3 years are finally coming to fruition. So I know it's hard to be patient and things move really fast within the Web3 world, but I think that we're almost there, and it's going to be a really magical year.
It is. All the time and care being put in. It's definitely how you make good magic. I'm
Absolutely.
sure I'll be talking to you more, Tad. So until next time, see you around.
Stay magic. So I should have put a timer up or something. I was just you get to talking and then you're like, have I been talking long enough? Should I stop
The
this? Is
passion
that
comes through. We'll make it
yeah,
perfect.
no worries.